Massachusetts Democratic Senator Ed Markey serves on the Foreign Relations Committee. He's just off the floor as there have been a series of votes on the Gorsuch filibuster and the potential of the nuclear option. Tell me the state of play right now and why you think this is the best course for the Democratic minority.
Well, without question, every senator knows that they are right now part of an historic moment. There is now an effort that has begun by Senator McConnell and the Republicans to change the rules from a 60-vote margin in order to confirm a Supreme Court justice to reduce it down to a bare majority. This is, without question, an historic mistake. It is something that has, I think, served our country well for years. But right now, that's what the Senate is in the process of debating, and ultimately, unfortunately, the Republicans do have the votes in order to change these rules in a way that's going to profoundly change our institution.
Now, Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, is on the floor right now speaking as this gets underway. Is it worth it to risk what can blow back against you if you ever regain the majority, the prospect of having no filibuster option on all of these other issues because of this one decision? I realize it's a lifetime appointment, but down the road, aren't you paying a very heavy price?
Well, we're going to have to debate at another time whether or not the Republicans remove the 60-vote barrier in order to pass legislation. But on this issue, on the issue of whether or not 60 votes is needed for a Supreme Court nominee, given how many historic decisions have been 5-4 votes, Bush versus Gore selecting a new president, the Citizens United decision after decision, 5-4. So this one person, this 9th vote, is so important to the history of the country that there should be a 60-vote margin. And in our opinion, it's worth the fight. It's worth standing up to make sure that we make the point that the problem is not with the process, not with the 60-vote margin. The problem is with this nominee who is a radical right-wing member of the judiciary right now with a record that made it clear that he would not be able to represent the mainstream of the American public.
Now, just to push back for a moment, he is filling the Scalia seat, so he's not changing the balance. He is filling the seat that is one of the most conservative justices, the late Antonin Scalia.
That may be true, but he's to the far right of Scalia, unbelievably, by all objective criteria. And as well, it is the vote which is going to set up the pathway for the next vote, which would conclusively change the composition of the Supreme Court in a way that dangerously would tilt towards corporations, against women's health, against consumers, against environmental protections. He himself, that is Gorsuch, on his own record, has produced a voting record in the judiciary which is so clearly antithetical to the best interest of ordinary families that we must reject him on the merits.
Now, I know you've got to go. You've got the vote. I want to ask you about Syria, though, given the horror of this apparent chemical attack. Would you support some kind of limited military option if the president moves in that direction? He was certainly hinting at it yesterday.
Well, my feeling is this, that yes, Assad is a despicable despot, but this gives President Trump a chance to change his views on Russia, to say to Russia, number one, it's critical for you to fully implement the removal of all chemicals within Syria. That has not happened. Secondly, that there is a full implementation of the ceasefire which Turkey, Iran, and Russia negotiated. That is not being implemented. That there is also all access for humanitarian aid throughout that country. And fourthly, that there is a negotiation which takes place with Assad at the table and all other parties so that we can reach a negotiated settlement. A military intervention by the United States could, in fact, result in a military escalation by Russia, Iran, and other countries as well. Let us first try a negotiated settlement. Let us have President Trump talk to Putin about getting to a table so that we can begin a diplomatic resolution.
Senator Markey, thank you so much. I know you've got to run. Thank you for taking time off the floor.